In conversation with Maggie St. Thomas. Maggie St. Thomas is a multifaceted West Coast artist from Long Beach, CA. By the age of 14, she was already a published photojournalist, fearlessly capturing the essence of the Los Angeles Anarchy punk and goth music scenes with her 35mm film cameras. One of Maggie's most cherished moments came in 1995 when she photographed her all-time favorite, the Ramones. A profound love for the band allowed her to capture that spirit in photograph during their concert at the KROQ Weenie Roast in 1995. Since the early 90s, Maggie photographic and journalist work have graced the pages and adored the cover of over 300 print publication issues, including notable names like Billboard and Rolling Stone, and cover features with OC Weekly and I Times. In a unique twist, Maggie has ventured beyond a photographic pursuit and established a career in dental care as a licensed crematory operator. She assists those who have transitioned the realm of the living into the afterlife. In October 2022, Maggie St. Thomas achieved another milestone, entering the world of a published author with her debut book, Still Life, The Photograph of Maggie St. Thomas. The book begins with a foreword by Exene Cervenka. Inside the pages are 4 decades of near-death experiences. And on today's episode of Photo Interview, it's my utmost pleasure and joy to offer the show today, Maggie St. Thomas. How are you doing, Maggie?
I'm doing great. How are you today, Peter?
So lovely to have you on the show today. You have such an amazing bio.
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely, it's great to have you here. So, Maggie, you've published 3 books, but I would like us to start today's conversation with your magical and fun children's story that celebrates friendship, courage, and self-discovery. That's the one titled Underwater Girl. And I'd love to ask you, what inspired you to write Underwater Girl?
Thank you. Yes, Underwater Girl was
Yeah.
written last year. I always wanted to do a comic book.
Mm.
And this story came together when I joined a writing challenge with the American Cancer Society,
Oh.
writing 30 minutes a day in May, and raising money and awareness for the American Cancer Society.
Mm.
And that was done. This is actually the book.
Oh, beautiful. I love the cover. Yeah, beautiful. And the
Underwater
fishes,
Girl.
octopus beside it.
Yeah, the illustrations are by Christy Shin,
Mm.
and it's 38 pages. There's some beautiful pictures inside here. And it's about a
Mm.
young girl who's a swimmer who has the superhero abilities to hold her breath underwater
Mm.
for a really long amount of time.
Wow.
And she's seeking an opponent who can match her underwater, holding her breath underwater, and everybody comes up for air.
Wow.
So, she has this very unique talent.
Mm.
And this is another illustration by Christy Shin. She's a huge, the girl, her name is Natty, and this is perfect for readers
Mm.
between the ages of 8 to 12.
Wow.
She loves eggs. So I love this picture. I think it's so adorable.
Wow.
It promotes, like studying with school and good nutrition and believing
Mm.
in yourself. Absolutely. One of the key parts of this story is that she finds, because, while she has this superhero ability,
Yeah.
she's also a fan of music and the arts.
Mm.
So she finds an older camera, and this is the illustration. She finds an older
Wow.
camera, and her father says, hold on, because he knows that there could be a roll of film in it. And it
Oh.
actually ends up being her mother's last roll of film before she passed away.
Wow.
So her mother passed away and they honor her memory, with her cremated remains in an urn that they spend time with every day and every night, her and her father. So it's a
Mm,
really, really fun book that was written last year and put
wow.
together with, that in mind. Really cool. Never would have thought I would have done a children's book, but it's been a lot of fun. I'm out here in Michigan right now
Mm, wow.
promoting my book, and did a book reading in Ann Arbor, Michigan at the Barnes and Noble.
Mm,
And I read the children's book, Underwater
wow.
Girl, out there,
Wow.
and that was really neat. It was a lot of fun.
Wow. That's actually amazing to know, really. I love your take on that. I love your take on that. Sounds quite captivating and quite fun to
Thank
me.
you.
Thank you for mentioning, and I love the beautiful illustration in front of it. Now, could you tell
Of
us about your
course.
debut, Still Life, the photograph of Maggie St. Thomas? Could you tell us briefly about the making of that as well? And if you have a sample there, I'd love you to show to the camera, just so we can see what it looks like too.
Of course. This is Still Life,
Wow.
and this was published officially December 12th,
Oh,
2022.
wow.
Now, the actual everything behind this book is it's 4 decades of photographs. So I have
Oh,
2 pictures in here that I took when I was 8 and 9 years old, as well as pictures from the year that it was published. Still Life has an introduction written by Exene Cervenka, and this is one of the photographs that we did inside her home with a 120 millimeter camera, a Graflex 22.
hmm.
And I absolutely love this image of her. I think it's really beautiful. The lighting is like the hatchet lighting, and it's just really soft. And she wrote the introduction of this book,
Hmm.
and I did the unofficial book release and signing at the Destiny's Funeral Home in Long Beach Halloween weekend.
Wow.
So the chapel was full of live music, and it was a really remarkable event, total dream come true for me. And it
Wow.
fit, the contents of this book, because I was working in death care
Hmm.
and as a crematory operator. So there's quotes in here from some of the artists about life and death.
Hmm.
And one of the interesting things that I'd like to talk to you about is one of the photographs in here. This was printed for the first 100 people who came to the book signing,
Oh,
received this limited edition postcard of
wow.
Maxi, who's inside the book. And
Wow.
sadly, he ended up passing away just a few days after I interviewed him for the book.
Wow.
Which brings me to talk about, I put the actual final interview with him in my recent release, which is
Imprint.
which is this one as well. But yeah, Still Life was my first book, and I am releasing volumes. There will be a pinup one. There will be the next one is Subject Punk,
Hmm.
which has some photographs of the Ramones in it, naturally. And
Wow.
they're a huge inspiration of mine. So yeah, a lot of photographs and a little bit of writing too.
Hmm. That's actually amazing, really. And I love your take. I love your take on these books. It sounds quite lovely, beautiful, compelling, and quite, deep to me. So thank you so much for even taking the time to come on the show to talk about it. It's much appreciated.
Of course. Thank you for
Yeah.
having me.
Thank you. So Maggie, I also love to ask you, what is the common themes or what are the common themes in your books and how long have you been writing? Would you like to talk about that?
Okay, so I first started writing and having my work published in 1993. I did
Wow.
have something published in Highlights magazine when I was like 6, 7 years old, a little poem or something that I wrote as a very, very young child. But once I began, working as a photojournalist in 93,
Yeah.
I quickly began, you know, uh, a lot of the newsstands and the streets would just have, like newspapers and magazines and ones that
Yeah.
could be purchased as well.
Yeah.
So very quickly it ended up being like over 300 print issues that I've had my work featured in. And I have
Mm.
many of those, almost all of them on my magazine rack at home in
Wow.
California.
Oh, wow. That's beautiful to know, really. That's beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you. But to answer your question about the common theme of my work inside my books now, because with magazines, it's been mostly like music and entertainment and bands. The common theme in my writing and my books as an author
Mm.
inadvertently is the fact of, it has the subject of cremation in my three books, which also really brings out the creativity and art of the individual spirit.
Mm.
So even though the books are so different, that is the common theme and the common thread of all of them that brings them together, that
Mm.
binds them, if you will.
Wow. That's amazing. Thank you. Thank you. I so much love your answers, really. Thank you for sharing. Thank you. And now, would you also like to tell us a bit about your upcoming book? Because I see that you have one coming up very soon in the name of Subject Punk. How soon is it coming to?
Subject Punk is just very similar to Still Life, except for the fact that it's more of the punk rock elements that I've worked with. It was a
Mm.
lot of goth photography in the early 90s, but really my heart and soul belongs to punk rock. And
Oh,
that's going to be coming out this Christmas. It will be available to be ordered through, online. And it has the American punk. It has, with Los Angeles, concentrating heavily on that. However, the Ramones are a huge part of punk rock. They're the founders.
mm.
They're it's heavily inspired in this book. And then there's also the Europe side, the British punk and, punk rock in there as
So
well.
established, yeah. That's great. That's great. Thank you. Thank you. I love your take on that. Apart from the books we've mentioned
Yeah.
so far, do you have any other works you've authored or say currently working on?
So aside from the books that I've worked on, there's two other books, one in which it's already out. It's by an author, Kathleen Yeski Taylor. Her
Mm.
book is called She's a Badass, Women in Rock. And it
Oh,
features a photograph of mine in chapter 3 with Exene Cervenka that I
oh,
did. Um, let's see, when did we do that photograph? It features that photograph in there. It's a collection um of different women in the rock scene, and it's a great book. It really is put together really nice.
mm.
So there's that one by Catherine Yeski Taylor, and there's also one coming out later this year. It's with Leonard Graves Phillips, who's the singer of the Dickies, and there's a bunch of
Oh,
photographs that I have in there. It's being put out by Cleopatra Records.
wow.
And I have a bunch of photographs that I did in the early 90s of the Dickies that will be featured in that book as well.
Mm.
So it's either coming out, I believe it's later this year or early next year. It's supposed to be when they tour Europe,
That's great. That's amazing,
if that makes
actually.
sense.
That's amazing. Hopefully, when that is up, would love to have you back on the show to talk about it. That would be great, really, you know. Now, could you tell us what
Yeah,
publishing is like for a published author
absolutely.
like yourself? Are there any challenges you've encountered in the process of writing your book and also ever since it got published?
Absolutely. So I'm a self-published author.
Yeah.
I chose that route because I have full artistic control over my work.
Mm,
And also, to get the ball rolling as a published author. So you asked me if there's any challenges. Every single day, there
yeah.
are challenges, no matter what we do, whether we choose the route of writing or anything, and if it's in the arts or entertainment or business, whatever, there's always going to be challenges. Now,
Yeah.
what I faced in terms of being an author and writing and being somebody who's, been doing this for over 3 decades, it's always been, with any type of industry, with anything that you do, there's going to be a lot of competition.
Mm,
People are hungry.
yeah.
And you have to, talent is great, but there's also, you have to have a lot of determination and be able to push forward when people say the word no. You know what I
Mm,
mean? Like, you really have to believe in yourself because you're going to hear the word no all the time. So you really have to believe in yourself and be your own advocate and your own cheerleader, especially because rejection, you're going to get rejected. And you
yeah.
have to have a really thick skin, I believe, because you have to believe in yourself because people, they don't know who you are, no matter what you do. So that's been the biggest thing. The challenge also, I worked with a great graphic designer, graphic artist, one of the best on the West Coast.
Mm,
And he passed in February. His name was Biff Butler. He did the full artwork on this book as
oh,
well as my latest book. He did the cover for that. So
oh,
that, hiring artists, editors. I'm my own basically do this by myself. So I don't have any representation. I don't have an agent. And if anybody's listening and would like to check me out a little bit more and do some representation,
mm,
I'm open to that. So,
that's
but right now
great.
it's just me.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And thank you so much for
Yeah.
mentioning that. I think it's very helpful and necessary too. Yeah. Thank you for mentioning that.
Yes.
Now, is there anything that you would love to share with the viewers about your
Mhm.
books that we did not mention in this interview, or you'd love the viewers to know?
Yes, I would like to let the viewers know that right now I'm on a book tour promoting my 3 books. Last
Oh.
year, I was on the West Coast with Still Life. I went to a handful of Barnes and Nobles out there and the independent bookstore Green Apple Books on the Park, as well as my first book fair that I participated in as an author. This
Mm,
year, I'm on a book tour promoting my 3 books. So I feel really blessed that it's not just one book that I have out, but 3. And these are all leading to my next title, which is Subject Punk. It'll be the 4th book out. And that's a huge thing to me with this book because it's,
yeah,
one big thing about the Ramones. They taught us all how to count, 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, like these book, and then they, get in, blast off
absolutely.
into
Yeah,
their music.
yeah,
With these
yeah.
books, we have Still Life was the first one,
Mm.
Underwater Girls the second, in print, the articles of Maggie St. Thomas is the third, which would mean the fourth would be Subject Punk. So
Mm.
I'm on a book tour promoting these right now in Michigan, Pennsylvania. I'll be in Buffalo, New York, and Ohio until the end of this month.
Oh, wow. That's that's so amazing, really. Now, Maggie, as a published author, what sort of
Okay.
advice do you have for other writers who are still struggling with writing and publishing a book? What would you advise people in this category?
For other writers, for anybody really, I mean, but for writers especially, just keep writing.
Mm,
If, some of the most important thing to do is
Yeah.
right. It's very therapeutic. It's great to get this stuff out and on paper. I'm old
Mm,
school, so I use a pen and paper all the time, but I also use my laptop. My advice to writers is just to keep writing. Sometimes I find myself like anybody where, the
mm,
doubt creeps in, the fear, and it's like, oh, you're not good enough. And
mm,
I just have to remind myself, like, I'm in competition with nobody. I just am
mm.
in competition with myself and
Absolutely.
yesterday's Maggie versus today and tomorrow. So I would say just to keep doing it and if you want to write, write and keep writing.
Mm.
And that's what I would say. I've been writing for decades. I've had a lot of help too with my writing, and it
Wow.
really wasn't until I joined the American Cancer Society last
Oh,
May. Actually, it was April.
wow.
And it wasn't until then where I really was like, hey, I felt confident that this was something that I could do. And it was, very empowering to do that. So,
Mm.
like I said, I had never written a children's book before. And
Wow.
I just thought it would be something really fun to do, and it was, and it has been. It's been great. And to
Mm.
hear the feedback from different people, from
Yeah.
parents who talk about how their child is
Loved
reading
it.
Underwater Girl, or
Yeah.
at the bookstore a couple days ago at Ann Arbor Barnes and Noble. This little girl sat down at the circle where we were reading, and it was so sweet. And she sat for the whole time. She was younger too.
Mm.
She wasn't quite the age of, between like 8 to 12 that I would say Underwater Girl would be more of like the main audience. She was really young, but I thought it was really sweet because she had a lot of fun, she said. And that was
Mm.
the feedback from her. And she sat through it the whole time. So that was really nice, to be reading a children's book and nobody got up to leave. So that was really cool.
Mm. Wow, that's quite amazing, really, Maggie. I love your take on this. I love your advice. And I'm so hopeful that viewers would love to utilize it. So thank you so much for mentioning. And now, just in case we have some viewers who are currently watching this interview, I would love to get a copy of any of your books. On what platform are they available on for purchase?
Yes, all three of my titles, Still Life, The Photographs of Maggie St. Thomas, which is this book right here.
Yeah, beautiful cover.
It's 104 pages,
Mm,
hardcover, full color. Also, Underwater Girl, illustrated by
mm,
Christy Shin, written by myself,
yeah.
and in print, the articles of Maggie St. Thomas. They're all available at Barnes and Noble, Amazon, and Book Baby. This book is meant to be read. It's not an e-version. It's called in print because these were 39 articles that were once exclusive to the online domain, which
Mm,
meant that, and it's not all of my work. It's only through the years of 2018 through 2023. And again, it's not even all the articles I wrote. It's just a
oh,
small portion of them. But I felt that they were important to be put together into a book
yeah.
instead of being read online, because they were
Mm,
exclusive to online, which meant that you had to have a computer or phone or a laptop in order to enjoy them, which is great. But I felt
mm,
that they were so much more personal if put into a book,
yeah.
into a paperback that can be bent, folded, brought on an airplane, a train, in the park, in the car, whatever. And you could just disconnect from all of that and
Mm,
enjoy flipping through the pages of a book.
that's
So,
great.
real quick, I'd like to just read something that is in chapter 31, if I may. Is that okay? It's just a
That'll be
little,
great.
okay.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
chapter 31, it's a collection of, they're all small chapters. So this one is called Getting Hip with Hepcat. See, this is like different places that I've been to, working with Snoop Dogg, Boy George, Sick of It All, the MC5s, Motor City Fives, brother Wayne Kramer.
Mm.
and who just passed in February. Dr. Angela Davis is in this book. Kitten DeVille shares her story about her love for her husband,
Oh.
Sean, and going through the whole cremation process through
Mm.
that. There's also a memorial stroll with Blackie the cat and LP, Fishbone. But anyhow, this is so it's a collection of that, like different
Mm.
adventures I've been on. But this one part in particular, I think it really resonated with me.
Oh.
He mentioned Greg Lee, and he says, "We've lost some brothers, we've lost some family members. Over the years, we stumble, we stop, we
Mm.
stall, but we're still here playing. We don't
Mm.
do it for the workout. We do it because you all keep asking for us to come up and play. So as long as we can sing, we will sing our song." I thought that was so inspiring because
Yeah.
in life, sometimes, we stop, we
Yeah.
stall,
Yeah.
and it's just true, but you keep going. So I thought that
Absolutely.
was like, um, that really resonated with me a lot on
That's
that.
great, really. Thank you so much for reading it. And I love all you've said about the book. Sounds quite deep, very powerful as well. So thank you for mentioning. And I left a link in the discussion part of this interview where interested
Of course.
viewers can get a copy of Maggie St. Thomas' books directly on Barnes& and Nobles and also on other platforms. So thank you so much, Maggie, for accepting the invitation to be featured on P English Literature. It's awesome having this conversation with you.
First, thank you for having me. It's been really nice talking to you. There's the little glitch, but technology is great because we're countries apart and we're able to do this.
Uh,
So thank you for, making this happen
you're
and,
welcome.
giving me a little bit of time to chat with you and talk about my books. It's been a lot of fun and
Yeah,
I appreciate it.
you're welcome. It's my pleasure as well. Thank you.